just leaving longs, and it's kind of weird how like some products are just gone. And I know this has to do with the throttling of the of distribution that's going on, but it's been happening for a while. I've been trying to get peroxide here for quite some time, and it's been tough. Other times, certain products will disappear for a while, like coconut oil, turmeric, rubbing alcohol. They'll just be gone for a couple weeks or longer. And then they'll come back around, and then other things won't be here. It doesn't make any sense, and it would only make sense if things were intentionally being throttled, which they are. So, how to spot divinity? How to spot someone who is also a real person, like I'm assuming you are, because you wouldn't be watching this otherwise. We're led to these things, you know? So, anyone, and I'm going to use this example with a caveat, a Dick caveat, Dick Cavett, Illuminati confirmed. It's anyone that's creating something artistic. We'll just go with music. That person is most likely has a connection to the divine. However, for instance, today with pop music, you may see an artist who is creating, but they're not doing any of the creating. This is especially ubiquitous in music, where there's someone else making all the stuff, like they're writing the lyrics or writing the songs, and the person's just performing them. I mean, I guess you could say there's an art to that, but there's a difference between art and creation. I'm already off to a bad start. Basically, if you're a creator and you create, like there's a guy near my house, there's a homeless dude near my house that he does paintings, and he paints all. I actually bought one of his paintings, and then got it home, and it was too big to fit anywhere, so it's behind the refrigerator. But he has a connection to the divine. He has a connection to God. Absolutely, there's no question about it. He is what I would consider a real person. So if just as you can kind of figure out who isn't by their actions, and sometimes it takes some time, you know, but once you kind of get it, you can spot them like right away. You can spot it right away. The divinity connection to creation is because that is our thing that connects us to the divine, is to be able to create. It's all about creation. I believe when this place was some kind of school, we were learning to be the better kind of divine, I guess, being we're supposed to be. But it was all done, it was facilitated with creation, like we'd be creating things. I think a lot of these older buildings that don't have plumbing or anything that would make them the regular things that you need as an inhabitable domicile or building aren't there, because they were created basically with your mind. The way things are created, and still to this day how this works, is it starts with imagination. Imagination in computer terms would be the back end of reality. You can create something in your mind. The idea is to then have it be created in the ether, but have impact on this screen, 3D area. The Rosicrucian Egregore, Eeyore, Winnie the Pooh. Illuminati confirmed. But that's always been one of the main magic ideas, is that you create something in the ether, not to so much have it appear here. That I don't really know much about that, but to have an effect here. I use the example that there was some water backing up between my house at one point. It was lodged with a lot of stuff. What I did is I created, in my mind, just out of my imagination, some water clearing machines. They don't have to be exact to have like like a real one would act here. They're not bound by any kind of physics or your regular logic. You can just invent something in your mind. It's all about making something to do something. it doesn't, you don't necessarily have to know how the mechanics of it work. And it can be as flighty as you want. So what I did is I imagined these like water clearing machines, like little U-boats or something, not U-boats, but like little things that would clear the water out. I had all different kinds in my mind. I thought about little choppers, little different things that would split that debris up. And the idea was when you create them in your mind, they have an effect on the 3D on here. Now, in that case, I did it during the afternoon one day, and by the next evening it was cleared. Was it because of what I did? I don't know, but it couldn't hurt, and you should always, give that kind of stuff a shot. Another thing I always say to do is, instead of just focusing, you can focus on your thought forms. That's what they're referred to in magic circles, thought forms. I also use the term constructs. That I think to make them have the most effect here is to design them or think about them with as much detail as you can. Like, look at it in your mind like it's a real thing, even if it's the way it's built is nonsensical. It's not about having a real mechanical working application. It's about having an effect here in this 3D environment. So things like how like the rotors would work on a water clearing machine, I guess you could do that, but it's more important to me to pick the colors you want on it, because what you're doing is you're trying to be able to look at it in your mind. Now, people that can't look at things in their mind, like you may have seen like the idea going on for a couple of years about how if you can't picture an apple in your head, you are like have no soul or something. I believe that to be true. Yeah, I believe that's a red flag that you don't have a connection to the divine or the source or God in the same way, and their dialogue is the same way. If you can't see an apple, then you certainly can't create a construct. So you want to get that construct, that thought form, to be as solid as you can, as far as detail. And it doesn't have to be a certain kind of detail. It doesn't have to be, colors or patterns. It's just, you can think of a weight, create a weight for it, just anything you can do in your mind to create something that is as close to real as if you could grab it. As I say that, I look at this van across the street. That's channeling the divine. That's art. So, and then what you want to have happen, and you'll hear this described as manifestation, and it is related in a way. People like manifest wealth or manifest money. When they say that, a lot of people probably imagine trying to get money to magically appear in their wallet. That's not how it works. You could create the situations that, well, here's the deal. This is how I would describe it. You can imagine money in your wallet, okay? Just imagine, like, I wouldn't suggest doing anything like this. You're tiptoeing into black magic at this point. But just for conversation's sake, if I get this fucking thing lit, I gotta have my cigarette going. It's my normie defense system. So, you could imagine that wallet overstuffed with money and try to get that, as full as you can or whatever. But the thing that will happen is the money will not just appear there. The idea is to change the situations or facilitate your situations to make that money. Maybe you win something or you do something, whatever it takes. It's not so much about a one-to-one situation. And that goes for thought forms as well. You're not going to manifest something in the physical, one-to-one. What you do is it will manifest itself through other mechanics so that you'll get the result of it, but you won't get the physical thing. Like those clearing ships in my mind, right? They're not going to appear there, but their function will have an effect here on the 3D. So while I won't see them, they'll still clear the debris. I don't know if I'm explaining this, but I always have a hard time explaining this stuff. As long as I've been talking about it and researching it and stuff and using it myself, it's hard to kind of get across. Other people can do it better. I've always deferred to someone else with almost everything, but unfortunately there's not a lot of people talking about this kind of stuff. You know, as you would imagine, these aren't very mainstream ideas, but you want to create something in the ether to then have an effect here on the physical realm. Yeah, the whole money, I got lost with that whole money example. Yeah, I shouldn't have even gone into that. That's the problem. You should stay away from things you can't explain 100% well. But all this stuff is like that, you know. But as far as finding other divine beings, while after a while, I think you'll be able to tell just by talking to them.
Thank you.
Some flags that would tell you that they do is creation, but the creation has to come from them themselves, not some producer. In the, you know, using the music business as an example, a lot of those pop artists aren't writing their own stuff. A producer is giving it to them. And here's the other part. There's another layer. The producers and the arrangers and people that get their names on it, they're all kind of from a certain clique. And those people ain't creating shit. They do, however, steal stuff from people that can. So what they'll do is they'll have real creators create this stuff, then they'll take it from them, or they have worked out some kind of deal with it, however it works, and then they present it as their own to the artist, who then records it or presents it to you. There's layers to all this stuff, and that's why you know, sometimes you're trying to explain these concepts. I can easily see why people tap out, like, all right, fuck this, this is stupid. But if you feel any kind of it, if it pings you somewhere in your soul, if there's the spiritual shit test, if it passes, then I would always suggest just to keep going and to keep looking, because it's there, it's all there. Quiet reflection, something I have a lot of trouble with, is the way to unlock a lot of this shit, because you got all the answers. All the answers are inside you, and it's not like you're learning, you're remembering. I've talked about discovered information, the concept where just one day you'll know something, or it'll reveal itself in a conversation with someone. Like, oh yeah, dolphins are this. And like, really? Like, yeah, I guess. And then you're like, how did I know that? And then if you do a check, it turns out to be correct. That's why I call it discovered information, because you have all the answers inside you, and the questions as well. Just imagine it as being something that's written into your DNA. In the same way, like a biological or a genetic thing can be written into your DNA. And the whole genetics thing, like being passing down from generation to generation, I'm very wary of that. I don't know what this, you know, any science is kind of like, all right, you know, you really gotta think about it. If it's presented as, if the science boys present it, I'm always like, you know, I believe schizos walking around the streets like myself over a lot of these science boys, because who's paying for the science boys? The science boys have a certificate on their wall that costs them a lot of money, and they're probably still paying on it. And if they do anything to endanger that certificate, or to lose that certificate, they're fucked. So they kind of have to toe the line. And there are a lot of smart guys there, and that's what that is that's the beast taking you under its wing. That happens in every kind of industry, every kind of thing, music, whatever. They see someone that has a natural talent or natural ability. In case of science, they see a really smart guy, a guy that's good with numbers, or he has a lot of pattern recognition, and they take him under the wing. Like, okay, yeah, just go to school here, and you'll be able to make a lot of money using your brain. But you can't go off script with what the narrative is. We saw that with they passed a bill in California. Did it pass, or was it just in legislation? I don't know, but the idea was that if a doctor goes against the CDC, like what the CDC says, and what more alarmingly a politician states about the COOF thing, they could lose their license. That's the ultimate, you have to toe the line. That whole thing is still insane to me that it's going on, but whatever. That's another subject for another day. Hi, how you doing? God bless you. But, I mean, yeah, they're after a while, you don't have to do stuff like that. You'll just be able to spot people. You know, I don't know what it's like when I describe being in the presence of like demons or demonic entities. It's a sense that you don't know how to use. Like you have smell, taste, all the regular standard senses. We have other senses that are kind of shut up or limited by a governor when we're inside these bodies that we can't access. And sometimes you can feel them about to go off, like, but then your body kind of stops because it's, it's limited. You only have a small band of frequency that you can experience here when you're inside these bodies. And there's, in that same way, there's a governor or limiter on things that we should be able to just naturally do. So after a while, you can kind of figure out who's quote unquote real just by being in their presence. In the same way, like with being on demonic entities, I always say there's a smell, but it's not a smell. It's something, you're getting the information in a way that you normally don't. And I describe it as rotten meat on static, because that's what it's the feeling of a smell. The same thing happens when you're with someone else or you encounter someone with divinity. After a while, you get more attuned to discovering them or to knowing that they have divinity, not because of all the ancillary things that I've talked about using, which is they're flags, but it becomes a situation where you recognize the frequency. You recognize the frequency that kind of thing is on, as far as, because just how you know someone is telling you a lie. You're like, I don't know, this guy sounds like he's full of shit here. You're not recognizing anything about him, you're recognizing the frequency, because lies have a frequency, truth has a frequency, so it's our frequency. I know I've gone off into 16 very different directions here, but yeah, that's just my my opinion and my idea, my understanding from my experience. I always try to be sure to couch all this stuff with those disclaimers. I don't want to be out here acting like I know for 100% certain, because sometimes things can change. You get new information, and then you have to reevaluate your stance on things. That's a healthy way to do it, and I've done that many times. So hopefully these aren't hard and fast kind of rules. These are just like, well, this is what I've experienced, this is what I think, and maybe it makes sense to you. It might ping within you, your spiritual compass, or the spiritual shit test, as I call it. We're all moving at different levels. We're all understanding at different levels. The veil disintegrating isn't disintegrating the same for everyone. Some can see through different parts of it. Scales coming off your eyes, the same thing. It is not a uniform loss of scales. It's not a uniform dropping of the veil. It's very, it's point of attention dependent. But it's still happening, and it's not going to go back. So, good for us. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.